The woman seized the moment while the scumbag father and his concubine were fast asleep. First, she blew a disfiguring powder onto the concubine's face. Then, she opened the concubine's jewelry box with just a wave of her hand. All the jewelry and accessories instantly vanished into her personal storage space. Next, she made her way to her scheming sister's room. Once again, she scattered the disfiguring powder onto her sister's face. The reason she was taking revenge on her entire family was because she was a reborn soul who had been murdered in her past life. In her previous life, her father favored his concubine and cast aside his wife. The venomous stepsister and the concubine had secretly poisoned her over time until she died. Little did they know, after her death, a 21st century female doctor had transmigrated into her body. At that moment, a general suffering from a deadly charm poison happened to pass by. He needed a woman with extreme energy to cure him, so he ordered his guards to dig up the grave. Just as the woman sat up in her coffin, a flood of memories from the original owner of the body surfaced in her mind. She couldn't believe that as a brilliant 21st century doctor, she had now taken over the body of a noble daughter who had been poisoned to death. Fortunately, her personal storage space had transmigrated with her. This meant she would be invincible in this ancient world. The regent had only intended to find a inconstituted woman to detoxify himself, but the moment the woman merely touched his hand, she instantly sensed the deadly poison in his body. As a gesture of gratitude for digging her out of the grave, she handed him a detoxification pill. Sure enough, after taking it, the general's symptoms disappeared immediately. He felt a wave of relief wash over him, and he couldn't help but develop a slight fondness for her. But at that moment, the only thing on the woman's mind was returning to take revenge on the ones who had murdered her. Under the general's escort, she soon arrived at the prime minister's manor. Seeing the white mourning cloth hanging at the entrance, she couldn't help but feel sympathy for the original owner and her mother's tragic fate. Although the original owner was the legitimate daughter of the prime minister's family, she and her mother had suffered endless humiliation and abuse. What she hadn't expected was that after learning of her death, the concubine and the scumbag father were now forcing her mother to hand over her dowry. Luckily, just as her mother was about to take her own life, the general arrived in time and knocked the dagger from her hands. When her mother saw that her daughter was alive, she was overjoyed like a child. At that moment, the scumbag father suddenly swung a slap at her, but her mother didn't hesitate. She stepped forward and took the hit for her daughter, vowing to protect her no matter what. The woman was deeply moved by this unexpected motherly love, and she immediately lashed out in fury. The scumbag father, unable to tolerate her defiance, ordered them both to be locked up in the underground storage. But just then, the general took out his command token. The scumbag father, terrified at the sight of it, immediately knelt and begged for mercy. To ensure the girl's safety, the general left the token behind and then departed. With the token in place, the scumbag father didn't dare to harm them further, but he still had them imprisoned. Meanwhile, as soon as the general returned to the palace, the emperor issued a decree, granting the girl's hand in marriage to him. The regent knew this was the emperor's attempt to suppress him, but he accepted the marriage decree with pleasure, and planned to personally deliver the good news to the girl. However, he failed to notice that under the cover of night, the girl was already carrying out her revenge in secret. She quietly slipped into the